I'm Chris Stansel. I'm Lieutenant and Public Information Officer for the Pickens Sheriff's Office. Today we're going to do the briefing and have Sheriff Craig and Sergeant Tim Nichols from Georgia State Patrol are going to come and present the information. When it's finished up, if you have some questions, we'll do all we can to answer them. The Georgia Bureau of Investigations was going to have a representative here. They're still actively finishing the crime scene investigation, so they weren't able to break free and get over here during the time for the release. However, they have provided us some information, so we'll do all we can to answer questions on their behalf as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Sheriff Donnie Craig and let him come up and speak with you guys.
Well, good evening. We'll go over some details about what happened last night over in Hinton community here in Pickens County. But before I do, I want to say that being a sheriff in a small town, one of the things that one of the worst phone calls that we can receive is a call that your deputies have been involved in a shooting, let alone that they've been injured or that somebody's been shot or killed. And that's what we had last night. Very thankful for the agencies, law enforcement agencies that responded to help us last night, especially the Georgia State Patrol that when they heard the call for backup, responded to back up our deputies. I would like to thank those that have called and give us our thoughts and our prayers for not only our deputies who were shot and injured, but for those family members for the individual that was shot in the incident last night. I've known the mother and the stepfather of this family for a very long time. Good folks, and again, my prayers go out to that family. As far as the incident that happened that we're here for, last night about 8:30, the Pickens Sheriff's Office had received a call of a dispute out on Carver Mill Road, around the 1600 block of Carver Mill Road. This call was involved with an incident between a couple of hunters and a neighbor. The neighbor was John Harley Turner. Mr. Turner's 36 years old, had seen somebody hunting on a nearby piece of property, had confronted them, altercation ensued. He actually displayed a weapon and made some threats to the two hunters. They actually had a couple of kids with them. They left the area and went out and called 911. Initially, we had a couple of deputies respond to that incident. When they arrived on the scene and approached Mr. Turner, he displayed his weapon, started making threats towards the deputies. Deputies then immediately called for some backup. A few minutes later, we had a couple more deputies arrive on the scene along with a couple of troopers from the Georgia State Patrol. At that time, they engaged in conversations and was doing everything they could to get this individual to release his weapon and to surrender. He continued making threats, showing his weapon and displaying that weapon. At that time, Sergeant Curran attempted to disarm the suspect with a couple of beanbag rounds from a shotgun. And when that was, after he deployed those beanbag rounds, the suspect then turned and started firing upon the deputies. At that time, we returned fire. Shortly after the suspect was killed, and we had two of our deputies that were injured and transported to local hospitals. Both those deputies sustained non-life-threatening injuries, was released from the hospital early this morning and are doing fine. So again, the suspect was killed during that incident. Immediately after this happened, we contacted the GBI, and as we do in any incident involving law enforcement, and they came in and are conducting the investigation on the shooting. At this time, they're still out finishing up with the crime scene. So, Trooper Nichols is here with the Georgia State Patrol. We'd like to.
Could you say and spell your name for us first?
Sir?
Could you say and spell your name for us?
My name is Donnie Craig, D-O-N-N-I-E-C-R-A-I-G.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Sergeant Tim Nichols, N-I-C-H-O-L-S. I'm the post commander for the Georgia State Patrol office here in Jasper. Last night at approximately 9 o'clock, the Georgia State Patrol received a call for assistance from Pickens County. Two of our troopers were dispatched to that scene on Carver Mill Road. Took positions of cover there at the scene. One of the troopers engaged in some of the conversation with the victim, giving directions and instructions to put his weapon down. And again, as Sheriff Craig stated, at one point, the subject began firing upon the officers. Both troopers returned fire, and as a result of that and the sheriff's office returning fire, the subject was killed. Neither of our troopers were injured. They have been placed on administrative leave, which is standard procedure for our department anytime an officer is involved in a shooting.
This time we can try to answer a few questions. Again, I just caution you that it is still under investigation. There are some things that, information that I do not have from the scene, but we'll be glad to answer some questions if you have any.
I just wanted to clarify, when you said you know the family, did you mean family of the two officers or the victim?
Both.
I'm sorry, the suspect.
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
And what are they saying and feeling? First, the victim's victim/suspect.
I mean, obviously they're devastated. You know, their son has been killed, and you know that they're hanging in there, and they're just trying to get through this time.
Do they understand why you had to do what you had to do?
Yes, they were on the scene.
Did the family give any insight as to why he was confronting these hunters?
No, my understanding it was an ongoing issue where he was having some issues with other hunters and people on a separate piece of property. So this is not the first time that this has happened.
But this was not his property that they were hunting?
No,
Did he think it was his property?
no.
Where did the officers get shot, and do you know if GSP fired those shots or Pickens?
No, our two deputies, one was shot in the arm and went through the media area in the arm. Did not injure any of the bones, basically entrance and exit wound. The other deputy was shot across the back. Luckily, he was wearing his vest and would save him.
Are they veteran officers?
Yes, they are.
About how many years?
I would say 4 or 5 years each or longer.
Are the vests a Pickens County requirement?
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that you're a small department. What was this like for you guys last night?
Well, it's you know, it's tough because living in a small community such as Pickens, you know, we know everybody. You know, we're close to the deputies, we're close to, you know, the people in the community, and you know, when you find out that your guys are involved in this type of incident and somebody's lost their life, it hits home.
Do you happen to know which agency struck the suspect?
No matter.
You know what kind of weapon the deceased had?
I don't have those details right now.
Does the deceased have children?
Not that I know of.
What kind of threats did he make to the officers?
To the officers, he was just threatening to kill the officers, to shoot them. And again, he continuously refused to put down his weapon.
Do you believe he was under the influence of anything?
We don't know. Obviously, in this case, with any other incident involving a shooting, an autopsy will be performed. And once we get those toxicology reports back, then we'll know. We don't know for sure.
Any idea how much property this guy owned? Like, is it a massive?
I don't know.
Were the hunters, was it their property that they were on, or they were leasing
They had
the road?
permission from the owner to be there and actually hunt that property pretty regularly.
So y'all took a substantial amount of time for deputies force to use.
Yes. It was about 45 minutes went by from the time they arrived on the scene and the actual first shot was fired, trying to disarm and talking him into giving up his weapon.
So he kept threatening the officers
Yes.
over and over.
Yes.
Did the beanbag shots not have any effect on him, or seem not to?
Not that I know of, no.
I know it's probably hard to answer this, but did he think those were real bullets that he was being shot with?
No idea what he was thinking.
Did all this take place at his home or out in the?
It was out in a small dirt road or long drive area of his residence.
When he realized that law enforcement had arrived or whatever,
Yes.
I mean, did he give any inclination as to why he felt like he didn't need to put his gun down? Like,
No, sir.
Was there anybody else at the residence?
Yes, his mother and stepfather live next door, and then there were 2 other neighbors that was close by that witnessed the incident.
Is there any dash cam video that's available? I mean,
There is, a couple of patrol cars did have the cameras and audio, and that will be processed by our office in the next, probably the next day,
okay.
which will be part of the investigation.
So you want to hold it before you give it to us?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Is there anything else you can add?
No, ma'am. I mean, again, it's very unfortunate. Here in Pickens County, we don't see this type of incident. And when it does happen, it's hard on everybody. So, again, I just ask for the prayers, not only for our office and our deputies, but also the family that lost their loved one.
How long do you expect your officers to be out?
It depends, obviously through the initial investigation, internal investigation, and investigation with the GBI, they'll be on admin leave, and then once we get through that, probably in about a week, hopefully we'll get them back.
But physically, they're able to come out?
Yes, ma'am.
How far apart were your deputies and the suspect when they were shooting each other?
I don't have that information.
So is the officer wearing the vest, you said that saved his life?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes. I mean, again, we require each of our deputies to wear the bulletproof vest. We provide that for them and require them to wear it. Had he not been wearing that vest, there is no doubt that his injuries would have been much worse and it could have been fatal.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.